All right, good morning, traders. Today is April 24th, 2025. My name is John Kerrigan. I am the lead instructor at BYOB Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in digital land. Thank you, everybody out there in cyber land, out in podcast land. I appreciate your subscriptions. Thank you for following me. Thank you for leaving kind words, thumbs up. Thank you for following me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you so much. Hey, good morning, Erasimo. All right, so my SPY pivot this morning, 539.45. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab Five still in daily downtrends. Wait, no, they're not. SPY is in a daily uptrend. Okay, let me fix that. All made higher highs and higher lows. SPY, QQQ, and IWM closed over bullish crosses and over their falling 17 EMAs, while FNGA and Diamond Dow closed over bearish traps, but under their falling 17 EMAs. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Gold in a daily uptrend. Gold made a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17. Silver still in a downtrend, made a higher high and a higher low, closing above a bullish trap over the hooking 17. That's hooking up. USO in a downtrend, made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bullish trap below the 17 EMA. UNG made a higher high and a higher low, closing under a bearish trap under the falling 17. US dollar index still in a downtrend. We like that. Closed near the 99.86 area. SPY max pain for today for the options. That's 534 with a put to call ratio of 1.25 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. Thank you, Kathy, Sarah Roasted. Thank you. All right, let's go take a look at some charts this morning. All right, let's take this off. Let's check out SPY. Let's pull it up on clean chart. All right, so here's yesterday's candle. Higher low, higher high. Closing over bullish cross. Over, see the red dot, over the red dot. So that's over the falling 17. Right at the downtrend line. See the gold line here that where I touch this top, and they all kind of connect together there. All right, so underneath that downtrend line, let's pop this out just a little bit right there. Yeah. All right, so there's the daily. Now, you look at this high right here. The high was 545.43. This high right here, 544.28. So we made a higher high right there yesterday. All right, that puts SPY in a daily uptrend now. Okay, so they just negated the downtrend yesterday. All right, so there's SPY on the daily chart. Look at it on the quad lines here. Okay, you can see price action. No longer in the lower third down here. Let me just dump those. Don't need them. They just get in the way. All right, no longer in the lower third down here. So it's neutral. Okay, you go up, you give it up, you're neutral. You go down, you give it up, you're neutral. Okay, still underneath the bearish downtrend. All right, just closing, just not moving down at this time. Still in it. Now we've created an uptrend. Okay, you can see we made a higher high yesterday, and we are moving up. So no longer moving down, we're moving up, and we made a higher high finally. So we got a higher low. Here's a low. We made a higher low, and we made a higher high. All right, so that's an uptrend. So there's SPY on the daily chart. Okay, on the 2-day chart, yeah, we're still in a downtrend on the 2-day chart. On the 3-day chart, we're still in a downtrend on the 3-day chart. Okay, on the weekly chart, we're still in a downtrend on the weekly chart. On the monthly chart, we're still in an uptrend on the monthly chart. in order for the monthly chart to get into a downtrend, they got to take out this low right here, or come back up over, make a lower high, or even a higher high, and then take out this low here, and then they will be in a downtrend. Right now, in a monthly uptrend. All right, so there's SPY. On the 10-minute chart, okay, we left off, we had, see the 3 EMA down here? It's underneath the white one, so we left off, we had a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close last night. All right, on the 2-hour chart, okay, you can see the 3 EMA up over the white 8 EMA because we gapped way up. Okay, so we got a 2-hour uptrend coming into the close last night. All right, let's take a look at the game plan. Let's get rid of this. And the game plan right here on the 5-minute. Let's take a look at it on the 5. All right, on the 5-minute for the game plan. Okay, again, SPY pivot, 539.45. You can see where price action bounced up to here, and we started up. See this spinning top right there? Okay, big wick, big tail. So right at the bottom of that tail and the top of this peak. All right, it's kind of the midpoint where bulls and bears had battles. All right, so there's on the 5-minute chart, SPY pivot, 539.45. All right, on the green erases red, all right, got another spinning top right here. Right over the top of that spinning top is my bullish green erases red entry, and that's 543.90. Okay, on the bottom side, on the bearish side, okay, underneath the pivot. Remember, under the pivot, I'm a bear, but above the pivot, I'm a bull. Okay, so under the pivot, below 533.80, okay? See this little doji down here? All right, see these dojis here? Okay, so below both of those dojis right there, okay, that's 533.80. That's the bearish red erases green entry, all right? Continuation of the 10-minute downtrend going into the close. All right, that's on the 10-minute chart. You can see right here, got a little 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. So we're looking for continuation. Okay, so what we don't want to see this morning, all right? We don't want to see green candles because that shows us the bulls are in control. Okay, we don't want spinning tops or dojis. All right, that's bulls and bears kind of battling it out or agreeing on price, right? So we don't want those. And we don't want big bottoming tail candles, okay? Big bottoming tail candles show us that bulls had more control than the bears, all right? Remember, we're in a downtrend, so we don't want a candle that shows more control by the bulls than we do by buyers or the bulls than we do with sellers. Okay, so that's what we don't want. We don't want that, okay? Anything with a tail that's bigger than the body and wick, all right? If the tail is bigger than the body and wick combined, okay, then that's showing us more bullish control than there is bearish control. Okay, so for options this morning, okay, I like Friday options. So that's 1 day till expiration or 8 days till expiration. Remember, you're going to have less volatility on the 8 days till expiration or the 15 days till expiration. You're going to have less volatility, all right? But they're going to cost you a little bit more, all right? I like $5 to $20 out of the money options, all right? I got a small account. I'm just starting off a small account, so I want something that's cheap. I'm willing to give up a little bit of performance to take on a little less risk by going out of the money. All right, they're cheaper and they offer less performance, but they also offer less risk out there when they're out of the money. All right, I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, and I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. All right, so that is the SPY game plan for this morning. All right, so let's go take a look at QQQ game plan. All right, QQQ game plan, again, right under where we opened yesterday. right on top of this peak right there, made a lower high. All right, we made a lower high, so I'm looking for price to make a lower low. Okay, so we have a high. We made a lower high. I'm looking for price to make a lower low. We'll see what happens. We left off with 10-minute downtrend. Okay, so QQQ pivot this morning, all right, is 457.60. All right, so above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. All right, the bearish red erases green entry is underneath 453.40. All right, that's the red erases green entry. All right, so you can see here would be the green. All right, I'll map it out for everybody to see. Okay, so here would be the green right there. Okay, now if we get red comes in, all right, and erases that green, okay, you can see why I would pick 453.40 as the entry. This is where red erases green right there. Okay, right there. That would be where red erases green. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. My first target would be this peak right here. So that would be my first target. And then my second target would be gap fill. Third target would be the pivot, the breakup candle low. And then the valley low right there. Okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 targets on the downside if the downside plays out. Again, on QQQ, I would look for no green candles as an entry in the morning. All right, because that shows we got a 10-minute downtrend. We would look for continuation of that downtrend. We made a lower high, so we would look to see if the bears are going to be inspired to make a lower low. All right, so I would not want green candles because green candles kind of signaled to me that that was bullish control. All right, we don't want to be buying when the bulls have strength or have control. We want proof that they're being run over. All right, so that would be QQQ. All right, so I wouldn't want any bottoming tail candles. Anything with way more tail than it has body and wick combined would also show me bullish control. I wouldn't want any dojis or spinning tops. All right, dojis show me bulls and bears are kind of satisfied with the status quo. All right, that's no edge there. We want something with an edge. All right, and I wouldn't want spinning tops because that's bulls and bears kind of having a battle right there. So I wouldn't want spinning tops, dojis, all right? Green candles or bottoming tail candles, all right? For that, that's QQQ game plan. All right, let's take a peek at QQQ on the daily chart. And we'll head over here. Trash those out. All right, hit it up on the daily chart. All right, you can see right here we had a higher low, higher high. We closed underneath, closed over the bullish cross and over the falling 17. All right, we're under the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're no longer in the lower third. Okay, so we're just neutral here. You can see the high here of this peak is 465.05. The high here is 463.38. So no cigar, still in a downtrend. All right. If they take out that peak, okay, we have an uptrend. They will negate the downtrend and convert the uptrend. Right now, they haven't done it. SPY did it. QQQ did not. All right. So QQQ still remains in a downtrend. It's just not moving down. Again, you move up, you give it up, okay? Price moves up, gives it up, that's neutral. Price moves down and gives it up, same thing, it's neutral, okay? In the lower third, we're bearish. In the upper third, we're bullish. All right, so there's QQQ on the daily chart. Okay, on the daily chart for QQQ, 2 days, still in a downtrend. All right, 3-day still in a downtrend. See that? Okay, no higher highs. All right, weekly. All right, there's a low. See the low underneath the 17. We made a lower low, so that's a downtrend. Okay, see here's a low, here's a low. So we're in a downtrend because we're making lower lows. All right, so weekly's in a downtrend, 3-day, 2-day, and daily, all in downtrends. On the monthly time frame, okay, here's the first low down here below the 17. You got this one and maybe this one. That's just like a one candle low. It's kind of tough to count that, but irregardless, we're still a ways away from that. So on the monthly chart, we are still in an uptrend right now. Okay, to get the monthly into a downtrend, we either got to take out this low or make a lower high and a lower low. All right, so right now, monthly, still in an uptrend. All right, just not moving up. All right, 3-bar pullback right there. Okay, so that's QQQ. All right, so we went over the game plan for QQQ. All right, let's go back to the daily chart and let's pick up IWM. This is the Russell 2000. Okay, Russell 2000. Okay, we've got a high over the 17, but the last high over the 17 is this candle up here. So we're still in a downtrend because we haven't made a higher high. We've made lower lows, so that puts us in a downtrend. See the lows? We made lower lows. So we got lower high, lower lows. We're in a downtrend. So on the daily chart right here, you can see price action makes a higher high and a higher low. All right, still in a downtrend on the daily chart. Okay, closes over a bullish cross. See the 3 crossing over the 8 there, and over the falling 17. But under the all-time high anchored VWAP. This is the pink line right up there, the top pink line. All right, and we're still in the lower third. All right, so we're still bearish. All right, still bearish because we're still in the lower third. So there's IWM. All right, let's take a look at, in case you need to know, IWM on the 2-day is also in a downtrend. All right, lower highs, lower lows. 3-day, still in a downtrend. Okay, weekly, yep, still in a downtrend. Lower high, lower lows. Okay, still in a downtrend. Monthly chart. Okay, monthly chart. We're still in an uptrend. If they take out this low right here, okay, that negates the monthly uptrend and converts the monthly downtrend. Okay, they got to take out that low down here. Okay, so monthly chart still in an uptrend. All right, so back to the daily chart. Again, we're in a downtrend, but we're not moving down. All right, right now, currently, because we made a higher high and a higher low. All right, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow does the same thing. Again, higher high, higher low, a little bit different though. Okay, closes under the falling 17, but over the bearish trap right here. All right, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line, and under the downtrend line. Okay, no longer in the lower third. Okay, so that's neutral. Okay, you go up, you give it up, you're neutral. Same thing, you go down, you give it up, you're neutral. If you're not in the lower third, all right, then you're neutral right through here. Okay, so there's Diamond Dow. All right, so let's take a peek at FNGA. All right, here's FNGA. Okay, makes a high, or low, higher high. Okay, closing over the 7th, almost over the 17, closing under the 17. See the falling 17, that's the red dots. Okay, closing, so you got a bullish cross right here. All right, closing over the bullish cross, but under, right here, the red dots, that's the 17. Okay, so here's the high. Okay, you can see this high did not take out this high here. So we're still in a downtrend. All right, still in a daily downtrend on FNGA. All right, on the 2-day, okay, still in a 2-day downtrend, still in a 3-day downtrend. All right, still in a weekly downtrend. See, here's a low when we made a lower low, so we're in a weekly downtrend. Okay, on the monthly chart, well, we made a low here on the monthly chart. We're in a monthly downtrend as well. See, we have a low below the 17 right there, and we made a lower low. So daily, 2-day, 3-day, weekly, monthly, all in downtrends for FNGA. Okay, now we follow FNGA. It's got 10 of the most heavily weighted stocks or securities inside QQQ and SPY, and they tend to jerk both indexes around when they move as a pack. All right, so that's why we keep an eye on FNGA. Okay, back to the quad lines on the daily. Okay, you can see FNGA, all right, right here, closing under all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, in a daily downtrend. In quadrant 1, see how it closed in quadrant 1. All right, that's bearish. All right, it's not in. It's still in the lower third, so it's bearish. Okay, if they give it up and they happen to meander back up here closer to the midpoint or the midfield, the dotted line right here, they'll be in neutral land. All right, right now they're in bearish territory because they're below here and they're in the lower third of the quadrant lines. Okay, so there's FNGA. Let's take a look at our technicals, T2122. Well, we camped out up here between, we meandered back and forth between campsites. We were in the overbought, and then we were in the buy, then we were in the overbought, and then we spent some time in the buy zone. So we hung out up here drinking the bear's wine. All right, so very bullish, hanging out up here. All right, over this uptrend line. Okay, no longer didn't spend any time in the buyer's chop zone or the seller's chop zone. Okay, T2122, good sign for the bulls. Will we see it on the T2123? All right, so from a distance, it looks like we're still comatose flatline. It looks like somebody took the adjustable bed and raised the head up just a little bit. So maybe we're not comatose anymore. All right, we'll see what happens. All right, I can see the elevated bed there. Somebody took the adjustable bed and lifted the head up a little bit. All right, still a flat line right through here. Okay, I'm not seeing a whole lot going on. I do see a little bit of something, but it's not much. We got a bullish gap that didn't get filled. Okay, that's a bullish environment. Okay, we got a little consolidation over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Closing over the falling 200 or the flat 200, that's a little bullish environment right there. Okay, so did we make a higher high? Yes, technically. Do I want to give it a whole lot of weight? Absolutely not. Okay, we just peaked up over this flat line right through here. So what we got is little mini bull flag where the fabric of the flag is like 20 times longer than the flagpole. All right, still looking like it's dragging on the ground. All right, so there's T2123. Okay, you can see we got a little mini bull flag. All right, inside of a big bear flag. All right, so we'll see where we go with this. All right, could have a false breakout. We'll see what happens. All right, eventually we hang out here too long and institutions, investors are going to abandon their positions, and then selling begets more selling, and we get another wave down. We'll see what happens. That's T2123. Okay, little bear flag inside of a little bull flag inside of a big bear flag. All right, we'll see what happens here. Okay, good news. We transition back up over that falling 200. Let's take a look at the 3-bar chart. 3 more red candle bars here. Again, if you look at this, there's not much change in that. Okay, very little bit. All right, so again, a little mini bull flag inside of a big bear flag right through there. Here's the last bear flag. All right, investors, institutions gave up hope, And then selling begets more selling, and we had another wave down. You can see price action here underneath 200 SMA right there. Okay, so 200 crossing down under two prior all-time highs. This is the all-time high up here. Okay, so nothing bullish happening on the bigger time frames, but on the smaller time frames, you can see we've got a little bit of bullish activity. We've got a bullish gap here that one didn't get filled. In addition, we got consolidation over consolidation. All right, we got consolidation over consolidation again yesterday, and a bullish trap that didn't get filled. We'll see what happens. All right, so there's T21.23. Go back to the 3 bars, go to the FNGA. All right, FNGA yesterday, gaps up, bullish gap, never got filled, like that. Held the higher ground, we like that. Over the flat 200, we like that if we're bulls. Okay, got another bullish gap that didn't get filled, we like that. Again, we got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Consolidation over prior consolidation again. All right, from yesterday over the day before. Okay, that's a bullish environment. Still got a bearish trap here, our gap that hasn't been filled. Question is, are we going to fill that gap? And we gapped the gap right here. We have a gap that is right through here. See that bearish gap down? Well, we didn't. Let me see if we filled that. I'm going to say yes, we did. We finally filled this bearish gap down. All right? We still got one more up here. And we got a whole lot more up here, too, as well. All right? But we have made a higher low. Okay? I'm still looking for the higher high. Okay? Higher lows is easy. All right? It's when you dig out a higher high, that's when I'm convinced. Okay? Haven't seen the higher high yet. Yes, we made a higher high than the day before. Okay? Here's a pivot low. I want to see him take out this high. Right over here. You got a triple top. Got to take out that high. The good news is they got up and they consolidated at the highs. They're holding the higher ground. All right? So we'll see what happens. If they can take out that high, that'll look very promising for the future. All right? We'll see what happens. That's FNGA. Okay, let's go back over here, take a look at some sectors. We'll start off with XLE. Here's energy sector. Okay. Notice still in the lower third. That's bearish. Higher high, higher low. Closing over a bullish cross under the falling 17. Still in the lower third. That's bearish. It's in a downtrend. All right. It's just not moving down. It's moving up. All right. You can see the candles. See the bodies of the candles making higher lows on those bodies. See how they make higher lows? Okay. It's just not moving down. It's moving up. So there's XLE. Still bearish. Still in a downtrend. All right. In the lower third is bearish. All right. Let's take a look at USO. All right. USO. USO's in an uptrend because they made a higher high right here. Nope, they're in a downtrend because they took out the low. All right, so USO still in a downtrend. All right, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bullish trap underneath the falling 17, underneath the all-time high. Well, not the all-time high. That's the 3-year high anchored VWAP right there. All right, lower highs, lower lows, still in a downtrend. In the lower third, that's still bearish. Okay, still bearish right there. All right, let's take a look at UNG. UNG got a higher high and a higher low, closing under a bearish trap. All right, see the 3 under the 8. Closing underneath, all-time high anchored VWAP. No, underneath 12-month high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Under the uptrend line. Okay, under the downtrend line. All right, under the midpoint. Down here, see, this is quadrant 1. Okay, it's in the lower third. It's still bearish. All right, you go up or you give it up. All right, that's neutral. You give it up and more, that's bearish. So there's UNG, bearish. Lower highs, lower lows. It's in a downtrend. Down here is bearish. So there's UNG. Let's take a look at GLD. Precious metals, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the rising 17, quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, up here in quadrant 4, in an uptrend. All right, silver. Silver's still in a downtrend. All right. Although, yep, silver's still in a downtrend. They have to take out this high to negate the downtrend. Okay, they're in a downtrend, but they're not moving down. All right, they got themselves in a downtrend by making lower lows. They took out this low, this low, this low, this low, and that little low right there. So they got themselves in a downtrend. All right, they're just not moving down right now. Okay, they're moving up. All right, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap. Okay, see the 3's on top of the 8. Over the hooking 17, see how it goes from red to green. Okay, up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. That's silver. All right, let's take a look at SMH. A few sectors here. SMH still in a downtrend. Okay, SMH makes a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish cross under the falling 17. That's the red dots. Down here, here's the quad lines. Quadrant 1, okay, still in a downtrend. All right, still in a downtrend, still bearish. Okay, it's in the lower third, so still bearish right there. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP, there's a pink line, still bearish down there. Okay, we're going to need something from technology and the SMH if we're going to get any type of a rally. All right, it's just not ready yet. All right, it might be cooking. All right, we finally got something up over a bearish trap. All right, it might be cooking, but it's not ready yet. Okay, so there's SMH. Okay, let's take a look at big brother to the SMH is the technology sector, XLK. Okay, no, see here's the high. We got a lower high, still in the downtrend. All right, on the daily chart. Price action, higher high, higher low. We're cooking up something. I don't know what it is. Might not be edible though. All right, closing over a bearish trap over the 17 under the all-time high anchored VWAP. No longer in the lower third, just neutral. Okay, you go down, you give it up. That's neutral. Same thing if you go up, you give it up. That's neutral. All right, so there's XLK. All right, just neutral right here. No longer in the lower third. Okay, day before they were in the lower third, so that's bearish. All right, there's XLK. Let's take a look at XLF. It's the financials. All right, higher high, higher low. Closing over a bullish trap over the falling 17. Over, oh gosh, look at this. Something's up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Yay. All right, so XLF, again, not in the upper third, so it's not bullish yet, just neutral. All right, you go up, you give it up, you're neutral. You go down, you give it up, you're neutral. Okay, upper third bullish, lower third bearish. Okay, just neutral, XLF. XLF makes a higher high. Okay, so that's in an uptrend and neutral right there. See that high right there over the 17? They made a higher high. So that makes them now in an uptrend as opposed to the downtrend they were in the day before. All right, so XLF in an uptrend. That's nice, but we need tech. We need technology in something. Either technology in transports or technology in financials. Preferably all three. So there's XLF. Let's take a look at IYT. Speaking of transports. All right, transports have to take out, see this high right here when it pops through the 17? Okay, got to take out that high up there. Notice this high never got through the 17, so we have to go all the way up there to take out that high in order to negate the downtrend. So we're still in a downtrend. All right, made a higher low and a higher high, closed over a bearish trap. okay, or a bullish cross under the falling 17 here, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, still in a daily downtrend, closing in the lower third. We're still bearish and in a downtrend. Okay, so technology just neutral. All right, financials are in an uptrend, not by much. It's a one day. Let's not get too excited. All right, transport still in a downtrend and in bearish territory. So nothing's working quite yet. Something's cooking, but we don't know if it's edible yet. All right, that's what we got. So there's IYT. All right, let's take a look at our economic package. We'll start off with Max Pain for today. The options for today for SPY, 534, 1 1/4 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. All right, on earnings calendar tonight, big night tonight, big night. 3.5 trillion in Alphabet market cap. That'd be Google. Gonna report tonight. Okay, 3.5 trillion tonight. Alongside of them, T-Mobile, a third of a trillion, basically 294 billion. They're going to report tonight, right alongside Google. Gilead Sciences, 131 billion. They're going to report tonight alongside of Google. And somebody else I like to keep an eye on, Intel, 84 billion. They're going to report tonight. In the morning, we got Fiserv's going to report 120 billion. We got Bristol Myers, 101 billion. They're going to report in the morning, this morning, today. Procter & Gamble, 393 billion. They're going to report this morning. Okay, Merck and Company, 199 billion. They're going to report this morning. PepsiCo, 196 billion. They're going to report this morning. Union Pacific, 131 billion. Again, this morning. Sanofi, 130 billion this morning. Comcast Communications, all right, 129 billion. They all report this morning. Big market cap reporting. The main event is Google tonight, 3.5 trillion. That can move the markets. All right, just saying, that can move the markets big time. All right, so that's tonight. All right, Google. All right, that's on deck for tonight. Okay, tomorrow, AbbVie, $306 billion. They report tomorrow morning. Everybody else is familiar names. You see them, Charter Communications, Phillips 66, all right, Colgate Palmolive, all right. You've seen these before. They're just not big enough to move the markets, okay? So, big name for tomorrow morning is AbbVie, $306 billion. All right, on the economic calendar, what do we got today? Durable goods, 830. Jobless claims, 830. Existing home sales, 10. Chicago Fed, National Activity Index, 830. Gas report at 10:30. And that's it for the day, all right? Tomorrow, consumer sentiment at 10, rig count at 1. All right, and let's take a look at the dollar. Dollar closed right here, the top of that green body in this candle. So about 99.86, 99.89. Okay, still in a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows, still in a downtrend. Okay, that's it for me for today. All right, I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes. Let me render my video. Again, thank you all for being here. Appreciate that. Everyone's trying to beat the tariffs. We'll see what happens. I wish they'd make up their mind and just say tariffs are on or they're off. At least we'd have certainty. Right now, the market has no certainty. Okay, we don't know if we got tariffs. We don't know who came to the table. We don't know what negotiations were made. We have no idea what the future holds. All right, and the market doesn't like uncertainty. When they have uncertainty, they tend to sell off. So we'll see what happens. Thanks, everybody. All right, I'll see you in about 35 minutes.